This last week I had a Bible study with Augustinos and some others, and they were studying Moses. And so I've been thinking about Moses. I've been thinking about him and just kind of his evolution through the story of Exodus and into Numbers in the beginning of Joshua. And I was thinking how I think I've heard it quite a bit, that people recognize that someone's strength can also be their weakness. You know, somebody who may be gifted in leading out or being decisive could steamroll people. And someone who is gifted in discernment may misjudge a matter and have a hard time recognizing it. Or, I mean, you can go on and on in different strengths people have that also can be a weakness. But I wondered, as I was thinking about Moses, if it could ever be true that a weakness that somebody has could evolve to be a strength through God's working in your life. Something that really was to a fault, a problem, and yet could be ultimately moved and worked into something that could be a strength in the Lord. So I wanted to take some readings, and they're kind of selective from the book of Exodus. A lot of them are quotations of Moses, and I'm kind of cherry picking, so I just want to admit that right off the bat. But I think there is something there in how Moses changed throughout his time serving the Lord and his calling in the Lord. And I'll maybe fill in here and there with a few comments and maybe just a little bit of story to give context, just to refresh where things are at. So the first reading I want to have this morning comes from Exodus chapter 3, and it'll be verses 10 and 11. And before that, you know the story about how Moses was miraculously spared from execution by being in the Nile. He was raised in Pharaoh's household. How he protected one of his, as he grew and became a man, he saw a Hebrew, an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, and he killed the man and hid him in the sand, and then figured out through his interaction the next day that this thing is known, and he took off and had an exile in Midian, and that's where he found his wife Zipporah and got married. And it wasn't until the Lord showed him that it was safe to return that he went back to Egypt to fulfill his role and his calling, leading the people of Israel out of Egypt. So I'll read those first few verses, and this is in the context of God unfolding this big idea to Moses and giving him his plan about what he would have Moses to do. So this is verses 10 through 12. This is the Lord speaking. "Come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt." But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" He said, "But I will be with you, and this shall be the sign for you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain." I'll read just a little further even. "Then Moses said to God, if I come to the people of Israel and say to them, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is his name?' what shall I say to them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am." And he said, "This say to the people of Israel, 'I am has sent me to you.'" So right off the bat, you get this mild protesting of his selection in the Lord, a questioning if whether or not he was really the person for the role. "Who am I?" was Moses' question. And I think that bears out later on as he matures in his role with the Lord. Okay, the next passage I want to read is chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. And again, this is part of the same conversation, and God is mapping out the path for how they're ultimately going to depart and how they're going to spoil the Egyptians by asking for jewelry. And this is how Moses answers the Lord. Then Moses answered, "But behold, they will not believe me or listen to my voice, for they will say, 'The Lord did not appear to you.' The Lord said to him, 'What is that in your hand?' He said, 'A staff.' And he said, 'Throw it on the ground.' So he threw it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses ran from it. But the Lord said to Moses, 'Put out your hand and catch it by the tail.' So he put out his hand and caught it, and it became a staff in his hand, that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you." Okay, and then he tells them about other signs that he's going to do, alluding to the plagues that are going to face Egypt. So again, here you see Moses resisting and rejecting, or at least strongly questioning God's plan. Well, who's going to listen to me? Now I'm going to skip down to chapter 4, verse 10. After the signs that God gets done describing to Moses. But Moses said to the Lord, "O my Lord, I am not eloquent, either in the past or since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and of tongue." Then the Lord said to him, "Who has made man's mouth, and who makes him mute or deaf, or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth, and teach you what you shall speak." But he said, "O my Lord, please send someone else." Then the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses, and he said, "Is there not Aaron your brother the Levite? I know that he can speak well. Behold, he is coming out to meet you, and when he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. You shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth and with his mouth, and will teach you both what to do. He shall speak for you to the people, and he shall be your mouth, and you shall be as God to him. And take in your hand this staff with which you shall do the signs." So there's this big conversation between God and Moses. And throughout it, Moses is like, "Isn't there somebody else? Who am I? I'm really not good at speaking." And then he comes right out and says it. Can't you just pick someone else? And to the point where God is angry about it. And there's no punishment here, but it does anger the Lord. It's a fault of Moses's at this point. I want to read another short section in chapter 5, starting in verse 15 through chapter 6, verse 1. Okay, this is right after they've gone to Pharaoh and they've made their first request to let the people go that they may do sacrifice unto the Lord. And Pharaoh responds by making life more difficult. "I want the same quota of bricks, only this time I'm taking away one of the most valuable tools you have, which is straw. So it's going to be a lot harder." And then this is what happens. Then the foreman of the people of Israel came and cried to Pharaoh, "Why did you treat your servants like this? No straw is given to your servants, and yet they say to us, 'Make bricks.' And behold, your servants are beaten. But the fault is in your own people." But he said, "You are idle, you are idle. That is why you say, 'Let us go and sacrifice to the Lord.' Go now and work. No straw will be given you, but you must still deliver the same number of bricks." The foreman of the people of Israel saw that they were in trouble when they said, "You shall by no means reduce your number of bricks, your daily task each day." They met Moses and Aaron, who were waiting for them, as they came out from Pharaoh. And they said to them, "The Lord look on you and judge, because you have made us stink in the sight of Pharaoh and his servants, and have put a sword in their hand to kill us." Then Moses turned to the Lord and said, "O Lord, why have you done evil to this people? Why did you ever send me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people, and you have not delivered your people at all." But the Lord said to Moses, "Now you shall see what I will do to Pharaoh. For with a strong hand he will send them out, and with a strong hand he will drive them out of his land." So now The complaint of Moses is, this plan isn't working. It isn't working. I'm getting nowhere. In fact, it's getting worse. And God says, just wait. Be patient and just wait. Now let's skip ahead to chapter 6, and I'll start in verse 9. Okay, so God then tells Moses what he's going to do and how deliverance will come. Moses spoke thus to the people of Israel, in other words, this picture of deliverance, but they did not listen to Moses because of their broken spirit and harsh slavery. So the Lord said to Moses, "Go in, tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to let the people of Israel go out of his land." But Moses said to the Lord, "Behold, the people of Israel have not listened to me. How then shall Pharaoh listen to me? For I am of uncircumcised lips." But the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron and gave them a charge about the people of Israel and about Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to bring the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt. So Moses is still protesting, but the Lord encourages him. The Lord tells him to persevere. The Lord tells him, I'm going to give you the message that you need to speak. Trust my plan. Don't give up. All right, I'm going to skip down to verse 28 of the same chapter and read just a few verses. On the day when the Lord spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, the Lord said to Moses, I am the Lord. Tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, all that I say to you. But Moses said to the Lord, Behold, I am of uncircumcised lips. How will Pharaoh listen to me? Now, what I'm not sure is if that's an additional discourse or just a summary after going through the tribes, the genealogy of Moses and Aaron, rather, just a summary to get you back on track with the story. Nonetheless, it's an additional testament of Moses's pushing back against the Lord's plan. And the Lord said to Moses, See, I have made you like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron shall be your prophet. All right, and now, so that gives us a nice picture of how Moses was really reluctant, really doubting his own abilities, really struggling in this role that God has more or less selected him for and pushed him into. I don't really get the picture that this was altogether voluntary, but there's a lot of resistance. But as he goes along and as they face challenges, things begin to change. They shift. And so some of these plagues come and Pharaoh's heart continues to be hardened. They deal with the rod, the sign of the rod turning into a snake. They deal with the frogs. They deal with gnats and flies. Even the Passover. And I'm going to start reading again in chapter 14, verses 10 to 18. And this is when more or less Pharaoh has allowed them to finally go, but he's going to change his mind. Or he did change his mind, and now he's pursuing them. When Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they feared greatly. And the people of Israel cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? You know, just a thought here, like there is nothing more withering to Moses throughout this story, and I think it bears out to when people are trying to lead out or have a vision when everybody criticizes. It's crushing. And this is where you start to see things shift a little bit. What have you done to us in bringing us out of Egypt? Is not this what we said to you in Egypt? Leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. And Moses said to the people, Fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. The Lord said to Moses, Why do you cry to me Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, that the people of Israel may go through the sea on dry ground. And I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, so that they shall go in after them, and I will get glory over Pharaoh and all his host, his chariots, and his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten glory over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And that's exactly what happens. Moses is getting complained at by the people. He encourages them to trust in God's plan. And then he leads them across. And of course, the Egyptians try to follow, and they are utterly destroyed by the water crashing in on them. But while Moses is maturing, it's not without continued struggle. I'm jumping ahead now to chapter 17. When the people have begun to receive manna from the Lord, but now they're thirsty, and now they don't have water to drink. I'm going to read verses 1 through 7. All the congregation of the people of Israel moved on from the wilderness of Sin by stages, according to the commandment of the Lord, and camped at Rephidim. But there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." And Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord?" But the people thirsted there for water, and the people grumbled against Moses and said, "Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried to the Lord, "What shall I do with this people? They are almost ready to stone me." And the Lord said to Moses, "Pass on before the people, taking with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock of Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water shall come out of it, and the people will drink." And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the place Massah and Meribah, because of the quarreling of the people of Israel, and because they tested the Lord by saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" So again, he's still susceptible to grumbling. He's still a man who's being worked out the way that God wants him to be worked out, and he's struggling with it. In chapter 18, his father Jethro visits him, and he's giving judgments to the people. And his father-in-law observes him. He's given a warm welcome by Moses, and he observes him and how he's handling the people, and he makes a recommendation. And I think that how Moses responds is a little glimpse into how he's changing, and how this thing that started as a weakness to a fault began to be something that would serve him well through the rest of his time leading the people of Israel through the wilderness. Okay, I'm going to read in verse 13. The next day Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood around Moses from morning till evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that he was doing for the people, he said, "What is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit alone, and all the people stand around you from morning till evening?" And Moses said to his father-in-law, "Because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a dispute, they come to me, and I decide between one person and another, and I make them know the statutes of God and his laws." Moses' father-in-law said to him, "What you are doing is not good. You and the people with you will certainly wear yourselves out, for the thing is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it alone. Now obey my voice. I will give you advice, and God be with you. You shall represent the people before God and bring their cases to God, and you shall warn them about the statutes and the laws, and make them know the way in which they must walk and what they must do. Moreover, look for able men from all the people, men who fear God, who are trustworthy and hate a bribe, and place such men over the people as chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens, and let them judge the people at all times. Every great matter they shall bring to you, but any small matter they shall decide themselves. So it will be easier for you, and they will bear the burden with you. If you do this, God will direct you, and you will be able to endure, and all this people also will go on to their place in peace." So Moses listened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said. Moses chose able men out of all Israel and made them heads over the people, chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens, and they judged all the people at all times. Any hard case they brought to Moses, but any small matter they decided themselves. Then Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went away to his own country. It may seem like a minor point, and it is rather subtle, I admit, but when you think about how Moses responded here, it is being able to hear somebody give criticism and to take it was now a strength that Moses had. To be able to hear that and not respond in pride, write his father-in-law off, tell him off, which would have been easy to do, which often happens when there's unsolicited advice given to somebody in that kind of a role. Rather, Moses was able to hear it and employ it and grow and benefit from it. He began delegating some of these lesser cases to the people themselves to judge, and it served them well. Okay, let's skip way ahead to chapter 32. And this is a little snapshot of the golden calf. Moses has been receiving the law from the Lord, and while he's been up there, the people have grown idle, have gotten anxious, and they ask Aaron to make them something, and Aaron produces this golden calf. And this is how Moses responds. The Lord knows about this and tells him first. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go down, for your people, whom you brought up out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way that I commanded them. They have made for themselves a golden calf and have worshipped it, and sacrificed to it, and said, 'These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt.' And the Lord said to Moses, 'I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, in order that I may make a great nation of you.' But Moses implored the Lord, his God, and said, 'O Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent did he bring them out, to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your burning anger and relent from this disaster against your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have promised I will give to your offspring, that they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord relented from the disaster that he had spoken of bringing on his people." That's as much as I wanted to read there. And there's more interceding that Moses does later. I'm going to forego reading it, but it's in verses 25 to 35. And I'll just summarize. So Moses comes upon the scene, and he questions Aaron. He calls the faithful to his side. The Levites come over to him, and then he orders a judgment. He orders an execution of the people who were decidedly unfaithful. And then he goes on to intercede further for the Israelites. And I'm gonna move on. I wanted to read one more story before. It's a little bit longer, and so I wanted to give you a picture that here's this Moses who started off so reluctantly, and yet now here he is interceding on behalf of the people, also rebuking the people at the same time, and sparing them. And I think that comes out of a place of humility. Now, Numbers chapter 12 is the next and final place it'll be chapters 12 and 14, a little bit from each. Okay, right after the quail that the people requested and then the plague that they received afterwards. So now his authority gets challenged by Miriam and Aaron. And this is how he responds. Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. And they said, "Has the Lord indeed spoken only to Moses? Has he not spoken through us also?" And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek, more than all the people who were on the face of the earth. And suddenly the Lord said to Moses and to Aaron and Miriam, "Come out, you three, to the tent of meeting." And the three of them came out, and the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tent and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forward. And he said, "Hear my words. Is there a prophet among you? If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak with him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak mouth to mouth, clearly and not in riddles, and he beholds the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. When the cloud removed from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous like snow. And Aaron turned toward Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said to Moses, "O my Lord, do not punish us, because we have done foolishly and have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, whose flesh is half eaten away when he comes out of his mother's womb." And Moses cried to the Lord, "O God, please heal her, please." But the Lord said to Moses, "If her father had but spit in her face, should she not be shamed 7 days? Let her be shut outside the camp 7 days, and after that she may be brought in again." So Miriam was shut outside the camp 7 days, and the people did not set out on the march till Miriam was brought in again. After that the people set out from Hazeroth and camped in the wilderness of Paran. Okay. So this is another example of a case where Moses could have felt like, well, you guys got what you deserved. That is the judgment of the Lord, and I'm just going to let it be that. You shouldn't have challenged me. You shouldn't have challenged my authority, but he doesn't do that. Instead, he does this amazing thing of interceding and pleading the Lord on behalf of his sister, asking for her healing. That takes a lot of humility, and the passage goes out of its way to tell us that he was meeker than anyone on the face of the earth. There are more cases of Moses interceding for people and asking for God's pardon, but I think that gives us a big enough picture for a devotional today. And some of my thoughts about this are that Moses started this call to leading out the Israelites as a balking man, somebody who just, if you've ever given a job to someone and you can just see in their countenance, you can just see how they respond and how they react. This guy has every intention of getting out of this. Like, he's standing there, he hasn't answered me a word, but he's going to try to not do what I've asked him to do. And I think that was the picture of Moses. And through these trials and experiences of leading the people, the Lord taught Moses to trust him. Moses' weakness became his meekness. It was this trait that he had to a fault, where he didn't believe in his own ability to do something, and rightly so, but so much so that even when the Lord was giving him a command, he couldn't do it. He was balking at it. But through seeing God's deliverance and through seeing the Lord work, through seeing the Lord fight for the people, Moses began to trust. He no longer balked. And even though he continued to struggle, he consistently became somebody who trusted in the Lord above his own abilities. And I think that's why he became meek. I think he recognized that he didn't possess the grit, the wherewithal to do this job, but he was relying on the Lord. And that is how he saw God's faithfulness, God's forgiveness, and God's power to bring them through. And instead of believing that he was too weak for God's work, he knew that God would empower him to do it. And I think it was that humility and that meekness that God forged in him to a healthy place, right? Away from a fault and to a place that was healthy. It was that allowed him to respond to people without pride and allowed him to intercede for rebellious people and to approach the Lord with the right attitude. You know, it goes both ways. Like if he would have had the wrong attitude approaching the Lord, he could have been struck down and another leader could have been risen up. But that's not what happened. The Lord respected him. I think you get a small picture of that when you read the passage about Miriam and Aaron coming against Moses. And God gives this big recommendation of Moses. Like, this is not the way with Moses. It's not like he's just a prophet. Like, I know this man, and he keeps all of my ways in his house. So I just want to challenge us this morning. Are we letting our experiences, the things that we're going through, that we face individually, that we face collectively, are they forging us and turning our weakness into a strength? Are they taking us where the Lord wants us to go? God have mercy on us all, and thank you for your time this morning. Anybody's free to comment or correct or disagree. Thank you all.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I appreciate those thoughts, Brother Max. Always appreciated Moses and thinking about, just how the whole thing played out or worked and so on. One thing I thought of this morning when you were reading that I don't think I thought of before is like how when Jethro was there and gave him advice on how to handle this thing, like how that it just popped into my head, like, okay, so that's where the whole government of Israel blossomed out of Jethro's comments. Like he told Moses, like, you should teach them the statutes and instructions and make known to them the way they are to go and the things they are to do. Like, out of that comes all the instructions and the things Moses laid down, like all the laws and how their government was set up. Like, out of this comes the government of the nation of Israel. And I just hadn't thought of it that way before, like Jethro basically giving him the blueprint of how to set up the government for this nation, which had just come out of slavery. Anyway.
Amen. Brother Max, you did a great character analysis of Moses, and I just appreciate your lesson. Want to imitate Moses. In Hebrews 11, it talks about the cloud of witnesses, and of course he's mentioned. And as you shared that he spoke face to face with God, but others didn't have that privilege like that. A similarity between Moses and Paul would be, they both said, block my name out. I'm not, it wasn't a glamorous life being a prophet or an apostle. Take my name out and let these people, they're too hard for me to deal with. And Paul says the same things in the book of Romans, right? He said, let someone, I wish I could be cursed, anathema for the sake of the gospel. And Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. And my last comment will be that as you started out, Brother Max, and they are great examples to follow, Moses and Paul, on Paul, he had the thorn in the flesh, and he said he prayed 3 times, get this, take it away from me, please, please. And he said, no, my grace is sufficient for you. And then he says, when I am weak, then I am strong. So whatever our physical infirmity is, or even emotional infirmity. I was thinking earlier I was thinking of the Esh family, but Bryden told me about the Esh family. Remember the singing family, the Mennonites in the bus, and 11 people died, the mother and the father and the children and all this. And Verna is still living. I met Verna down in Texas and think, but what a grief that must be when 11 your mother and father and brother, and they all get killed in one day. That happened in March several years ago. Singing family, like the Brubakers, a singing family. But God will give them the power to overcome. When I'm weak, I am strong. The Lord be magnified.
Unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. Unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. Oh my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me. Yea, let none that wait on thee be ashamed. Yea, let none that wait on thee be ashamed. Oh my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me. Show me thy way. Teach me thy path. Show me thy way. Teach me thy path. Oh my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me. Remember not the sins of my youth. Remember not the sins of my youth. Oh my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me. All the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth. All the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth. Oh my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me. Low in the grave he lay, Jesus my Savior, waiting the coming day. Jesus my Lord, up from the grave he arose with a mighty
sweet as child.